It is time to start the builds of the two F4F-3 Wildcats we will paint in the pre-World War II yellow wing scheme for the U.S.S. Ranger and Wasp. We are using a 1/48 scale Hobby Boss F4F4 models that will backdate to F4F3 units by filling in the outermost machine gun ports on both wings. First parts to be removed from the main sprue are for the engine and the cockpit. I am using a Xuron sprue cutter, but you may use any quality sprue cutter you prefer. Carefully cut the parts off the sprue to prevent any damage to them, as some are very small and fragile. I am doing all the pieces at the same time before we proceed to sanding them. We sped up the next section of the video, as watching me cutting parts off the sprue is boring. Using a 180 grit sanding stick, I clean off the excess plastic left on the part after cutting from the sprue from all the parts I did. You may use any method you want to accomplish this same task, but smooth parts allow for no issues when gluing these parts together. Test fit parts when possible, and note when they go together with any gaps showing. This piece for the engine shows how smooth the seam is. On parts with thin sections, be very careful not to break off any of those sections. Be gentle with the sanding stick. Again, watching me sand parts is not very exciting, so we'll speed this section up. Thank you for watching this video, and stay tuned for the next section. After sanding all the pieces for the engine and cockpit, we are ready to cement parts together. Most of the Hobby Boss instructions are straightforward. However, it is difficult to tell orientation on some parts. Please test fit pieces together to make sure it makes sense and appears correct. I have put CA adhesive into an aluminum pan, which is used for gluing the parts together. CA is my preferred adhesive for models I build. Not only is it a strong adhesive, it can be sanded after drying, does not interfere with the adhesion of Tru-Color paint, and you can even use it on painted parts without any problems. Starting with parts for the engine and using a toothpick, carefully apply adhesive to one side of the piece and place the halves together. Hold for a couple of seconds and set it aside to cure. Next is the two control panels for each side of the cockpit. Again, using a toothpick to apply adhesive to one side, place the parts required per the instructions together and hold for a few seconds. Note that all the cockpit parts will be painted interior green. We have sped up the rest of this video to save time. Regarding the control panels, some sections will be painted matte black per the instructions. Again, using Zap-A-Gap CA, we are gluing the sections of the cylinder heads together, which will be painted TCP 712 metallic black. This will be followed by what I believe is the engine blower, which will be painted TCP 311 safety yellow. Please follow the instructions carefully, making sure the pins of the cylinder heads are attached correctly. The next several sections have been sped up to conserve time and interest in the build, but I will explain what I am doing and the importance of building the support cage, which sits in front of the cockpit section properly. Note, this section supports the underframe for the wheels. The entire section in front of the cockpit is extremely important, as it supports the fragile framework for the wheels. When the F3 version of the Wildcat was built in February 1939, it was the first U.S. Navy carrier aircraft that had retractable wheels. At that time, it was quite an innovation. Starting with the shield that sits in front of the cockpit, we are attaching the complicated support structure. There are many parts involved, and again, be accurate in placing the pieces, as the entire structure will eventually be secured to the wheel underframe, which is very, very fragile. The support cage will be painted TCP 013 aluminum, as will be most of the fuselage and the underside of the wings. Please be aware that the two F4F-3 aircraft we are building and painting in this set of videos are for the pre-World War II era, when the aircraft in question had orange-yellow paint on the upper portion of the wings. Also, they had specific tail and stabilizer colors for the carriers that they were assigned to. As a reminder, we are building and painting these two F4F-3 Wildcats for the U.S.S. Wasp and the Ranger. This small part we are gluing to the framework is critical to this part of the model. When we are ready to attach the underframe that holds the wheels, only a small piece goes in between the upper and lower framework. This is the completed cage that sits in front of the cockpit. It will be painted TCP 013 aluminum. This very small part that is between the upper and lower framework that is ultra critical to the model. Then we move on to the machine guns. Now it will be hand painted in gunmetal TCP 1416. Moving on, we have the small piece is the radiator, which will be painted TCP 013 aluminum, along with this section of the motor. Front part of the motor will be painted TCP 256 light gray. Next is the blower to be painted TCP 311 safety yellow. These are the various cockpit components that will be painted interior green. The headrest on the seat back will be painted flat brown leather. Control tops will be painted flat black. The cylinder will be painted TCP 712 metallic black.